What's up everybody, Michael here, and in today's video we're going to talk about how to get meetings with larger e-commerce brands. So one of the common things I hear is that my cold emails are working, I'm targeting e-commerce brands where you're selling Facebook, Google ads, whatever it might be, but you're just getting meetings with companies that are a bit too small. So in this video I want to show a few unique ways on how you can build your list to get lists that contain much higher companies on average and avoid having meetings with small companies who can't afford your service. So let's go ahead and get into it. So for this, we're going to be using a tool called Store Leads. Store Leads is essentially a tool that lets us filter different e-commerce stores by a variety of options we can choose. We can filter by the platform they're on, we can filter by how many social followers they have, and by the technologies that they have installed. So I want to share some of the unique ways that we filter stores on Store Leads before exporting our list to get a list of really high quality, larger e-commerce stores. Once you export your list from here, you then go ahead and go through your normal list building process, whether you use Snob, SalesQL, Apollo, or you work with a contractor to do so. So let's go ahead and talk about the unique segments that we can use here. One thing to note is for the rest of this video, I'm going to keep on the filter for country, essentially what countries these stores are based in. I'm just going to keep it to United States, United Kingdom, and Canada. That way it works for most people here. Obviously, if you're targeting a different country, you can just go ahead and change these filters. So the first way that you can get bigger brands in your lead list and book them on calls is going to be by using a platform other than Shopify or WooCommerce to build your list. Most people like to work with Shopify or WooCommerce for a variety of reasons. These platforms are certainly fine, and there are big stores on them, but there are other store platforms that, generally speaking, have larger stores and also get less outreach, so they can be really good to reach out to. A few of these are going to be Magento, Oracle Commerce, Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and also Custom Cart. Custom Cart is anybody who has a completely custom checkout process, so you're going to have really big stores on these. Generally speaking, these platforms are more expensive, they're more difficult to use, and the reason they're more difficult to use is they allow a lot of customization, so big stores are generally going to use them. So if we go ahead and ran a search, we can see that between these platforms, there are going to be 300,000 stores that match these filters. So there's certainly no lack of stores matching these filters, and in general, they're going to be much larger than your average store on WooCommerce or Shopify. Another thing that we can do to find larger e-commerce stores is target an industry that has a higher barrier to entry. What I mean by this is how easy is it to start a, let's say, clothing brand or supplement brand. Supplement brand, you find a white label provider, you have a logo, now you're selling. Clothing brand, you print a few t-shirts, now you're selling. We can use categories on Store Leads to find categories that, generally speaking, are going to have a much higher barrier to entry. For example, if we look here and we find a company like home appliances or computer hardware or industrial materials and equipment. Again, you may not be able to serve these people, but if you can, you don't just start an industrial materials and equipment company and not have any funding. That's a business that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to go into. So by filtering by categories that have a higher barrier to entry, we generally get a lot better meetings than things like health, fitness, beauty, and clothing. Another thing we could do is add on a technology filter on Store Leads, and we can filter by companies that are actively using Hyros. Hyros is a tracking tool when you're running ads, and generally speaking, larger companies are going to use it because if you're not making much money, it wouldn't benefit you that much. Now here we have 1,000 stores matching, which isn't huge, but it's certainly a good list of 1,000 stores. We can also filter by apps. For certain apps, it would only make sense to use if, generally speaking, you're a larger store. Feel free to do some research here, but a lot of these apps are going to be inventory management apps or logistics apps, which are quite expensive and wouldn't make sense to use if you're a smaller store. Another example I'll give you here would be a tool called Triple Whale. If someone's using Triple Whale, generally speaking, they're going to be a larger tool as it helps you manage your ad spend. We can see that there's 4,000 stores that are using Triple Whale actively, so it's a really nice filter to use. And lastly, a lot of people know this, but you can filter by how many followers someone has. However, this is not a perfect indicator, as people can buy followers or have a large amount of followers but have a hard time monetizing them. So the way I like to search if I do this is I like to go by combined followers, because I don't care if someone's followers are on Pinterest, on Instagram, on Facebook. It does not matter to me generally. And what I'll do is I'll look for a minimum of 50,000. Now, out of all these filters, this is probably the lowest priority, but it's still a very good filter, and you'll have a ton of leads once you run the search. For example, here we have 92,000 matching. There you have it, quite a few unique ways to segment your list using store leads to make sure that you're only reaching out to e-commerce brands that are larger and can actually afford your services. If you do want more useful tips and tricks on prospecting, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to go a step deeper and have myself and my team help you with your campaigns, feel free to check out dfymeetings.com, where we fully manage your prospecting, or b2boutbound.io if you want our most comprehensive training on how to do this in-house. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.